enhancing institutional development for make use of the landscape management be productive and applicable for agricultural system, especially for crop production. What is the usage of this? This helps us to support the sustainable use of natural resources fairly and on equitable basis, and having a benefit which is co-shared, and also it contributes in conserving and restoring biodiversity. One of the pretty aspects of landscape management is in conserving and restoring biodiversity, which is directly related to managing climate change and enhancing food production through maximizing crop yield or crop production or crop husbandry. The other aspect is the socio-ecological aspect, where we can see landscape management as a system, okay? This is where historical, cultural, economic, ecological, and socio-cultural values and the characteristics of the society and all the community will be valued, viewed, and given due attention. This is very interesting and crucial for designing landscape management and governance so as to have a functional ecosystem where crop production, livestock production be very productive, and it's also very crucial for having functional ecosystem services. So the other issue is landscape governance can be viewed in the context of farms or agriculture, where the spatial context or the spatial arrangement of the ecosystem be well managed for co-benefiting and in attaining sustainable development goals. Especially in this case, landscape management helps us in climate change mitigation, restoration ecology, and biodiversity management. This can be generally viewed as an ecological and economic view of the landscape, ecological and economic value of the landscape. Sorry. So the other aspect is the anthropological aspect, where integrated landscape management process can be valued by different stakeholders, where their interests be maintained and their benefit will be equitably shared. The other aspect of the landscape management is where the value chain perspectives, the whole value chain from land preparation to food marketing or food storage and consumption. So in the landscape perspective, the whole actors of the value chain has to be well treated equally and common interests can be shared. The final one is the co-creation and cooperative aspect of the landscape management, where directly crop production and the productivity be influenced, because it helps us in mainstreaming the concepts and the principles of biodiversity conservation, ecosystem services, and making decisions. Okay, unless we cooperate and co-create, it is very difficult to have a common decision-making process that makes crop production very troublesome. The other element of landscape management is working based on the nature solution or nature positive development driven pathways. The principles of landscape management employs or make use of the nature positive and common economic development pathways, in which environmental trade-offs will be reduced and the productivity will be maximized. Are you with me, please? Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you very much. So, in a very holistic approach, understanding principles in which landscape governance and management operates is very important and crucial in reducing the threats of coming from environmental pollution, natural resource degradation, and investment issues. Landscape management also influences the type of investment, especially agricultural investment we follow, be it is a horticultural crop production, legume crop production, or livestock production, or cereal crop production, or water harvesting, whatever type of investment may be, unless and otherwise we know the nature of the landscape, it is very difficult to directly invest in that area. So it guides us the type of development initiatives or alternatives we will follow. So clearly understanding the issues of landscape from crop production perspective is very important and decisive. So one pretty interesting aspect of this is the restoration ecology or the restoration philosophy. As we all know, currently the head of states of many countries, around 115 countries all over the surface of this earth from all continents, have agreed to plant 1 billion hectares of land through restoration philosophy. Among these, 50% of this restoration commitment is now currently undertaken in sub-Saharan Africa. Almost 500 million hectares of land are planned to be planted by different agroforestry, forestry, and food tree species. I hope you know this, the African Great Wall or the African Green Bridge, which starts from Senegal and ends around the Red Sea. This is a very big project. The ultimate objective of this project is to afforest Africa and maintain and restore its ecology, whereby this ecosystem will be very important and sustain crop production and sustainability of food security can be attained. Measures that helps to restore land and improve management at multi-state will be benefiting our society. So it will be directly contributing to achieving the desired sustainable development goals, one of which is the food security issue. The second one is the water security issue. If we manage our landscape very well in a very systematic manner, we can easily manage attainance of our requirement of food security and the issue of water security. The other aspect is it addresses biodiversity loss and mitigate and adapt climate change. Through this restoration process, we can conserve different biodiversities or different plant species and animal species so that biodiversity loss can be reduced, climate change can be mitigated and adapted. The other one is it is very important in reducing the rate of desertification. Currently, if we see the climate of Africa, the climate models currently operating shows us Africa is highly subjected and vulnerable to desertification process. So this restoration commitment contributes in averting the rate of expansion or the rate of progress of desertification on the surface of Africa. If this desertification process will be reduced, our ecosystem will be in a very balanced manner. So crop production and other agricultural practices will not be affected. So in this context, agriculturalists and agricultural researchers are currently, as we have seen yesterday, employing the concept of climate smart agriculture in research, development, and policy links, where climate change and agriculture are now on board, whereby climate change is influencing agriculture and agriculture is also contributing to boost or enhance climate change. This interplay has to be clearly understood by our scientists because it is like a feedback inhibition in the like in the Krebs cycle. Yeah? Because the climate is influencing the agricultural practice, and the agricultural practices are also contributing to climate change. So we researchers has to intervene at this juncture so as balance this phenomenon. Another issue in this aspect is climate smart agriculture is a framework which now emerged to attain the triple wins. These triple wins are, as we have seen yesterday, increasing productivity, enhancing resilience, and reducing greenhouse gas emission. So the traditional concept of climate smart agriculture is to have these pillars, the three pillars. This approach is practiced in Africa, especially in Africa, on field-based and farm-based levels. Okay? This practice is undertaken at field level and at farm level, sometimes at plot level. So this fundamental phenomena, we can literally call it traditional farming and land management practice. Okay? It goes from plot to field, from field to farm. It means simply it operates on a very narrower geographical coverage. Okay? Most of the focuses from this climate smart agriculture has been implemented for field and farm practices with an ultimate objective of increasing grain yield or fruit yield or foliar yield of some vegetable crops, fruit crops, cereal crops, or legume crops. That is simply to mean to back up crop husbandry practices. So this kind of practices, which is localized at farm and field-based, we cannot be sustaining our future. So we have to think and rethink to join another way. What is it? The other one is simply this climate smart agriculture is meant to have the implementation of the adaptation and the mitigation strategies are at very narrow level. However, climate smart agriculture requires beyond the farm scale level. In this connection, one element of the Food and Agricultural Organization FAO definition is adopting the ecosystem approach, whereby landscape and land scale management system be on board, in which intersectoral coordination and cooperations can be integrated. Now, it is the scenario has to move from plot to field, from plot to farm, from farm to field, and from field to landscape level. It's expanding. Now, in this case, FAO advocates to adopt this ecosystem approach in which landscape is a key fulcrum where intersectoral coordination and cooperation can be maximized. So parallel to this, climate smart discourse has been engaging now the issues of integrated landscape management as an organized framework. So integrated landscape management approach works deliberately on restoration, model forest development, integrated watershed management, landscape governance, and ecosystem approach. Now the scale is now expanding to the ecosystem level, from plot to ecosystem level. So if we have this holistic picture or the whole picture of this ecosystem, we can easily plan how crop production and the productivity will be operating. Otherwise, it's very difficult to have a very well-planned crop production practice or crop on animal husbandry practices. So some of the major activities that landscape management encompasses are 5. 1, landscape interventions are designed to achieve multiple objectives. Okay, it can be crop production maximization, it can be soil restoration, it can be water harvesting and soil moisture management, it can be cultural preservation, it can be post-harvest loss management, it can be food production, it can be fire production, it can be the issues of climate change mitigation, it can be conservation of biodiversity and ecosystem services. It's multifactorial and multi-objectives. For example, from the traditional, what makes this practice different from the traditional agricultural practice is simply, for example, if you take farm level agricultural production, our ultimate objective will be targeting simply yield of a grain, for example, maybe a maize or cassava or potato, whatever. But in this case, it is at holistic level, at system level, which encompasses these all, or which addresses these all fundamental issues. The other one is, it includes the ecological aspects, okay? The social aspect and the economic interactions. The ecological, social, and economic interactions are key catalyzers in development organizations and in making development or economic empowerment. Here, landscape management seek positive synergies, okay, without harming our ecology, without harming our socio-cultural practices, without injuring our economy. We have to maximize crop yield and productivity and reduce negative trade-offs. One of the fundamental usage of this landscape management is in the reduction of negative trade-offs. The third one is, or the key role of local communities and householders will be taken into account and will be well acknowledged. This is from the anthropological point of view. The fourth one is a long-term perspective will be considered or assumed in this case so that sustainable development strategies will be addressed, especially food production, water management, functional ecosystems, dynamic social and economic changes will be addressed under this scenario. The fifth one and the most fundamental one is it's a process whereby participatory approach be followed. Social learning, multi-stakeholder negotiation, institutionalization, including all stakeholders in the value chain be considered, and the livelihood of most vulnerable people be addressed, protected, and enhanced. The final destination or the final objective of this landscape approach in food production is to enhance productivity, protect environment, and enhance economic development. So it has a multifactorial or a multi-objectives and multi-benefits in this realm. So in relation to crop production, if you want to plan to have a functional crop production activities, we have to see these all five management activities in the landscape process. So as an agricultural scientist or soil scientist or environmental scientist or hydrologists or socioeconomists who are involved in crop production system or other aspects of agriculture, we have to clearly understand these fundamental 5 points. The other key important issue that this landscape management helps us is in the improvement of efficiency of our ecosystem, sustainability of the ecology and ecosystem conservation, like conservation, protection, and natural resource management. As you can clearly see from this graph, 5 different processes are yes, George, Geoffrey, yes, you raised your hand, please. Sorry, I see one hand. Yeah. Hello, are you following me, please?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are following you.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you very much. So we can see these 5 key issues from this graph, in which totally the landscape can be viewed at holistic level. One is in the improvement of efficiency. The second one is under the issues of sustainability. The third one is under the issue of management. Fourth one is the issue of resilience. And finally, the fifth one is about governance mechanisms, sustainability of the governance mechanisms. If we are planning to have a well-planned landscape management approach, or if we want to plan a research in this area, it is a must to understand these 5 cycles, or these 5 key bullets or issues. From agricultural perspective, this can help us in ensuring food security, in adapting and mitigating climate change, in watershed management, in enhancing biological activity of the ecosystem, and in attaining or meeting the objectives of the climate smart agriculture, which is productivity, resilience, and the reduction of greenhouse gas emission. So we are planning projects or research or any intervention in our landscape. We have to clearly follow these cycles. The other important issue that we can raise here is the relationship between climate smart agriculture and operation of landscape management. Here, the principles of climate smart agriculture do contribute for the management of the landscape, whereby the negative effect of the climate change be reduced, and then crop production and the productivity be maximized. So climate smart practices at field and farm level can be scaled. Diversity of land use across landscapes will be maximized, including preservation of ecosystem services and improvement of capacity of the socio-ecological systems to cope up with extreme events. Here, it can be drought, it can be flood, it can be pest epidemics, it can be disease epidemics. Any natural catastrophe can be handled under this scenario. The other key important issue that we can raise here is the management of the ecosystem and the land interaction, okay? Which will be based on the social, economic, and ecological benefits. Any agricultural operation or any agricultural process or any agricultural system has to sustain healthy social function, healthy economic function, and healthy ecological functions. The social, the economic, and the ecological aspects has to be very healthy, unless and otherwise it's very difficult to have a well productive and sustainable crop production. Especially in Africa, we have to be very careful in this area. We have to work in sustaining our ecosystem, in the restoration of our lands, in devising different practices so as to make our land use system very productive, so as to increase yield and productivity per unit area. So we can see this diagram. It's a very important diagram. This diagram simply tells us the interaction of different stakeholders and their impact on production and the productivity of the ecosystem, and their effect on meeting the objective of climate smart agriculture. We can see the public sector, we can see the enabling environment, we can see the private sector, okay? We can see research, we can see support functions, we can see also the extension services. the whole stakeholders in this is meant to have a well-planned and productive crop production or crop husbandry systems. Okay, this is simply to mean building resilience of farm and landscape. Okay, where the community is well managed and the crop production is well sustained, well the pest is well managed or controlled. It's very difficult to say pest control. Pest cannot be controlled, but we literally say pest can be managed, making below economic threshold level. So for this, research is highly contributing. The private sector is also contributing. There has to be an enabling environment. The public sector has to get involved, and the extension service has to be functional. So what is the final impact of this? The final impact, as you can see from these 3 bullets, is reduced crop losses due to pests and greater food security. Okay, in a well-managed landscape, we can reduce pest losses or loss of crop due to pests or diseases like insects, weeds, or any type of pest, and we can have a greater food security. Okay, one of the key indicators where the functional landscape can be measured is through the reduction of pest load or through achieving greater food security. The other one is enhancing resilience on farms and landscape to climate change and reduced pest pressure. Okay, if we are applying the systems of landscape management in a very pertinent manner, we can easily enhance the resilience of our farm and landscape, and we can also reduce the impact of pest pressure, whereby crop production and the productivity will be very positive, or they will be maximized. The other one is in the reduction of the greenhouse emission or intensity by crops. This is simply to mean under well-planned and managed integrated landscape management, we can clearly attain the 3 pillars of climate smart agriculture. That is productivity, resilience, and reduction of greenhouse gas emission. So as an agriculturalist or an agricultural scientist, we have to clearly understand the dynamics and the interaction among these stakeholders or value chains, so that we can critically define their role and set an experiment or device technology. There is a noise, please. Please, there is a noise. Mute, please. Please, sorry, there is a noise.
Hello, please, Francis.
There is a noise, please.
I think Adam is on ways, that's why he's disturbing.
There is a foreign sound here that's disturbing us. Adam, please, you can mute Adam. Adam, please. Adam, mute it, please. Adam Bush, please, would you mind muting your mic?
I think you might also be able to mute him.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's done. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So here, what can we clearly see is under healthy landscape management, crop production can be easily sustained. So ensuring food security, food sovereignty will not be very tough. But conversely speaking, if we are poor in managing our landscape in a very critical and pertinent manner, it's very difficult to produce food and feed our nation. As we have seen yesterday, how grain production is reducing in relation to population booming. So the gap between population increment and yield reduction will be very tough. So we have to clearly understand how this dynamism is operating on the surface of Africa, so we can plan a very sound and functional landscape management that can increase or enhance food production. This is simply to work in a very participatory manner and achieve the design goal. That goal is enhancing productivity, enhancing resilience, and reduction of the greenhouse emissions. The other very important issue that we have to undertake, the whole scenario can be summarized by this picture, by the way. I'm completing, by the way. Here we have tools, functional tools, 7 functional tools. We have also 7 functional phases. We have also 7 functional results. And finally, we have one impact. Let's see. The first tool that we have is social networking analysis and exploration surveys. This is simply information generation, information collection and generation, or we can call it reconnaissance survey and social networking. Okay. The second phase is participatory workshops. The information collected from this social networking analysis can be critically analyzed here and specified, and the theory of change will be set. After setting our specification or specific objectives and targets, and after identifying our theory of change, the next tool that we employ will be monitoring the systems of knowledge operation, the technical performance issue, and the adoption change. We will be seeing here how different systems, different knowledge are combined and work harmoniously, and how adoption takes place. The other one is how the scenario is operating. Okay, climate scenarios. Here we will be using different climate models, different prediction models, different forecasting models, and different risk calculating models, and see how climate smart agriculture is benefiting the society. Then from this analysis, one, we can set experiments. Okay, we can set experiments. It can be soil management experiment. It can be crop improvement experiment. It can be water management experiment. It can be post-harvest loss management experiment. It can be testing the functionality of a technology package. Whatever it may be, here is an experimentation. This experimentation from agricultural perspective can be made at research stations, in the universities, at farmers field school level. Okay, so here is, from this, life cycle assessment continues and the policy mix will be driven. These are the tools that we can use. By the way, this is a very, very sensitive case that we have to understand clearly. For planning and adopted climate smart practices in a landscape management approach, we have to critically understand the usage of these tools. Here, agriculturalists, sociologists, hydrologists, socioeconomists, physiologists, geneticists, breeders, pathologists, entomologists, different field of studies can come together, climatologists also, and have a policy influencing tool. The final destination is to influence the policy so that the policy formulators will be designing an implementation strategy that can help sustainable crop production for our farmers. From the tools, what are the phases to be followed? We have also 7 phases. The first phase is exploration, okay, situation analysis. We have to analyze the kind of problem existing in that landscape, in that crop production system, in that farm, in that field, in that plot. Then after generating information from the first phase, we have to co-define, okay? And we have to clearly know the innovation platforms. Here it's very critical, yeah? Phase 2 is very critical. We have to co-define. This is participatory. Co-definition means working together, cooperation or participatory, of which the innovation platform will be clearly set. Then at phase 3, we will be having a shared diagnosis. We have to dissect the problems, the information, the knowledge, the experience we have observed from phase 1 and phase 2, and synthesize and clearly identify which way we go. That comes to phase 4, identification of solutions. What type of solution is applicable or practical for particular landscape or field or farmland be identified under this phase. Then, after clearly identifying the solutions, we come to test applicability, validity, and compatibility of the solution at on-farm experimentation. Okay, on-farm experimentation of the solution. For example, if we can practically see this. For example, if a breeder sets an experiment in a plot, then develop a variety over 3 or 4 years, then before releasing this variety to farmers or to commercial farms, these varieties should be tested at on-farm level or at farm station over different seasons and the location. If these varieties are okay, then finally it will be released for end users. So on-farm experimentation of the results, information, the solution we have observed through these phases will be tested under the 5th phase. And finally, as the 6th phase, assessment of co-designing processes and disengagements will be identified. If the process is working, we devise a strategy and scale it up or scale it out, or we can release that variety over locations for thousands of farmers. If it is not working, we have to redesign. This redesigning has to be made in a collective manner, co-designing by different experts, an agronomist, a soil scientist, a breeder, socioeconomist has to come on board, sociologists, including sociologists, hydrologists, climatologists has to come. I'm taking an agriculture as an example. So we have to retest, redefine, and finally rectify whether these technologies or this solution is functional. And if we are very sure of it, we can devise a strategy at the 7th phase and scale it up or scale it out. This means simply if a technology works in Ethiopia, we can directly scale it out or scale it up to Kenya in the same agroecology, or we can take to Tanzania or Ghana or whatever. But its functionality has to be clearly tested, checked, verified, and rectified. So the results. We expect also 7 results from this. For the sake of time, I will summarize. These results, 7 results, will be really added up together and leads into farmers adopted climate smart practices for crop production, which is very functional, productive, sustainable, and ecologically sound. And it can have an impact on the social well-being, economic development of the community, the society, and beyond. Even it can have an impact on economic development and growth of a country. Okay, this is very critical and very important model that we can catch. You can read this. We cannot finish it really with this model. We can read and explore from Sustainability Journal, from World Bank's documents, and from Land, which is published by MEDPI. You can get this information. So the next point that we can understand is the importance of climate smart landscape management in the context of adaptation and mitigation. From the model, okay, the functionality of this model is simply to enhance adaptation and mitigation of the climate change so that the ecology is functional, healthy, productive, and sustained crop production. Okay. The other issue that we can understand from this schematic representation is the issue of stakeholder interaction, planners, policymakers, bargaining power, negotiations, and finally contributing to productive land uses and the users in the landscape approach. And finally, this model also helps in the monitoring and evaluation process, okay? For the management of the whole project. This is very important. Active monitoring and management can reduce conflicts and generate synergies and sustain stakeholders' engagement in the landscape management. This is co-creation and cooperation, or we can literally call it participatory approach. Okay, one of the ultimate goal of landscape management or governance is through the make use of monitoring and evaluation tools, we can reduce conflicts among societies, individuals, even countries over resources, harmonize and generate or synthesize synergies, and sustain the engagement of stakeholders in that landscape management. The other key important issue is the benefits of this focus on landscape interaction are: one, enhanced field level benefits of the climate smart practices. Okay, once we have applied the innovation solution, that is the climate smart agricultural practices like agroforestry, soil fertility management, improved variety, water harvesting technology, pest management strategies, all packaged. Okay, their design and ultimate goal is simply to enhance field level benefits or farm level benefits or farm level productivity or farmers' productivity, we can say. The second one is to secure functional ecosystem. Okay, the technology, the inputs we apply, the strategy tactics we follow should support and secure our ecosystem services. So the second one is securing functional ecosystem, or it helps us to secure ecosystem functionality. The third one and very important one is to enhance the effectiveness of climate mitigation efforts. It has to be effective. Effectiveness is in terms of cost, in terms of simply, I can say in terms of productivity. Okay, productivity can directly measure effectiveness of that innovation solution or that technology. So for today, I will stop here. Thank you very much for your attention. My special thanks to our forum. Now I will open the forum for discussion, comments, and other issues. David, back to you, please.
Yes, Prof. Salalem, thanks very much. I think participants are free to ask questions, even if there's something that was not clear from yesterday, maybe they can have an opportunity to,
they can recap.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I think anyone interested in commenting can just show their hand. There's an icon on Zoom where you can show your hand.
It's supposed to, but
the icon called reactions, you'll see where you can choose where to show your hand, to raise your hand. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Demiso is raising. Demiso, please, you are allowed to speak.
I still have.
Okay, thank you, Doc. I appreciate for nice presentation. But actually, what I have some question is regarding to there is someone also commented as rather than saying climate smart tools, it's better to say climate smart pathways. I think it's appropriate one. It's a suggestion. But what I'm not understanding is regarding to the climate smart practice that field and scale is what it makes different from the normal conventional research method, especially the diagram one. I couldn't understand the difference between the conventional research method one rather than saying this. This is the only question that I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alamayo, for your comments and question. The traditional agricultural practices we follow are not in a well-integrated manner. Okay. For example, we simply focus on yield and we overlook the social aspect. Okay. We simply focus on yield and we lose our focus on our soil management. We simply focus on yield and we will just forget our sustainable way of using our water. And we are also focusing on yield and we are indiscriminately applying different pesticides. But in climate smart agriculture, these practices are systematically synchronized and synthesized and packed and applied to a farm so as not to incur a negative effect on the ecological productivity of that land. Okay, the pre-planned ultimate goal in climate smart agriculture is, as I have indicated, is to attain the three pillars. Whereas in traditional agriculture, we simply focus on productivity, right? Productivity means simply yield. We lose our focus for resilience of the climate and production of greenhouse gas emissions. That is the difference I feel, Mr. Adamayo. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. I got the ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Abdul, please welcome. Abdul Hakim.
Hello.
Yes, Abdul.
Thank you so much, Prof, for the
Yeah. Yes, I'm not hearing you well. Pardon, please, will you continue, please?
Wonderful presentation. I just wanted to ask a question about the last points you made about productivity. Ask a question about the last points you made about productivity with resilience and of course greenhouse gas. Because we always talk about bridging the yield gap. So how much of productivity can we compromise for resilience or for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions? And also whether there are case studies or best practices, best examples where we can show how to balance the three scenarios: productivity, resilience, and reduction of greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, as I earlier mentioned, in traditional agriculture, we simply focus on one goal, that's yield, simply productive land or productive tree or productive livestock. But there are now models developed, okay, which can directly measure the productivity, contribution to resilience, and greenhouse gas reduction. One of the typical practice in which this model operates is in precision agriculture, okay? We directly know the water demand of that crop. We directly know the nutrient demand of that crop. We know the length of growing period of that crop. So we can operate in a manner that can sustain this LGP, length of growing period. That means from sowing to physiological maturity at a very calculated rate. There are models that can easily tell us how much fertilizer do we apply, how much water do we apply, how much pesticides volume of pesticide do we apply to get X amount or Y amount of or kilogram of yield. But in traditional agriculture, once the technology is set at research station, we directly pick that recommendation and go to farm or landscape level, whereby we cannot directly benefit from the contribution of the practices. But in climate smart agriculture, we know which combinations are working together, which combinations are functional, which combinations are productive. If I get to a point, I sense in this manner. Tabi? Hello? Hello?
Yes, Tabi had raised the hand.
Yeah, Tabi, please. Tabi, please. He's already muted.
I think there are some other people.
Hello, can
Tabi,
you?
please. Tabi, please welcome.
Thank you very much, Prof, for this brilliant presentation. Yeah. So what I want to ask is, for how long shall we continue, working under a system where we are going to compromise yields within this in the face of resilience and greenhouse emission? In our system here, it's very difficult for farmers to understand this. So I would like you to throw more light on how to manage these three, so that we can explain to our local farmers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. In commercial agriculture, maybe there will be a yield penalty. Okay. If we apply these climate smart practices, there will be really obvious that there will be a yield penalty, so we can compromise our yield. So under commercial agriculture, intensive use of inputs is a must. Yeah, that's why commercial agriculture is highly contributing to greenhouse emission.
Yeah.
Okay, but in African context, where the farming system is very fragmented and the land holding capacity of our farmers is very small, we can practice directly these climate smart agricultural practices or technologies. So I believe for Africa, yes, we can. But if we go for sugarcane plantations, coffee is in fact a climate resilient practice. If we go for hybrid seed production, yes, there is yield penalty. I accept that. But for Africans, we can apply these climate smart technologies. Yes,
Thank
Bahame.
you,
Thank you, Prof. David Bahame or Bahame, please. Bahame, you are welcome, please. David, yes. Are you hearing me?
If you please, Doctor, I wanted to ask about, according to your lectures, which strategies are applied in Kenya related to global warming, greenhouse gas emissions, and the steps that Kenya already take it into account to face of these challenges on the private sector and for smallholders farms?
Yeah, not only in Kenya, but also in different parts of Africa.
Okay, but related to your specialist and your experts in this field.
agroforestry practices as they're operating. They use mulching, they use irrigation, they use application of well-recommended fertilizers. It is almost the same from country to country. Currently, the information we are disseminating across Africa is almost coming to one tunnel. And now, because of these FARA and regional agricultural research organizations like AERO, like CARO and CARLO, these technologies are currently well understood, and it is almost the same across Africa, I feel, in that manner. If you have any information, please, you can share for us.
For example, for your most important crop in Kenya, which is tea, so you are exporting about by $1 billion per year. So which types of irrigation methods you are applying? Which types of sustainable agriculture you are applying dealing with this kind of important crop?
Yeah, in fact, I'm not from Kenya, I'm an Ethiopian.
Because, yeah, I'm sorry, but they already get it in Nairobi. They send us that the time related to Nairobi.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the time is just to, yeah, thank you, sir. Okay. All right. Mohammed, please. Dr. Tom.
Hello.
Dr. Tom, please welcome, Dr. Tom.
Okay, thank you. I'm Tom from Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, in Nigeria. I want to thank the professor for the presentation. But however, from my own analysis of the structure presented to us about the land management, to me, it just simply seems to the already known farming system research. It's like it's something very, very similar to farming system research approach. Although the professor is talked about the focus of traditional agriculture being yield, but sincerely in farming system research approach, we talk more than yield. We also look at other aspects of the entire system. So I would think that maybe our focus in this land management may just be to think about the objective, which is similar to the objective, not just being the yield now. Not just being the yield, but the entire management of this. Because if we just think of bringing something new, entirely new, other than what we know, then there may be a kind of confusion among our farmers. But from what from my own primary analysis, I observed that if we move from the known to the unknown, the known here is the farming system research approach that is known, where we don't just talk about the yield. To now bring in the primary objective of landscape management, it will be easier to comprehend. Finally, I think our problem in maybe Africa is this issue of extension. The teaching aspect is there, the research, but the extension aspect is one major constraint that we have, which I think when we look into, then this climate smart agriculture will work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments, Prof. Yeah. By the way, farming system research is part and parcel of climate smart agriculture.
Yes.
In climate smart agriculture, there is nothing new, okay? People do see climate smart agriculture as a new innovation, but it is not.
Yes, it is.
It is a manner in which we systematically combine different technologies to attain the 3 pillars of that climate smart agriculture. In fact, farming system research is one approach in which climate smart agriculture's pillars be attained. Thank you for your comment, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Joseph, please.
Thank you, Prof. I'm Joseph Muira from Nkumba University, Uganda. I want to thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. But I have a question here. And my question is, what do you comment about population pressure vis-a-vis climate smart agriculture? Because I guess this is one of the issues that entirely are affecting the productivity in most of the areas in the world, and most especially Africa in particular. Because when you look at the ecosystems are under threat. The diversity of the land is under threat. So what do you comment, Prof? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, as I have illustrated yesterday, currently the population pressure is booming. We are now 8 billion. But climate smart, I understand your question. Through climate smart agriculture, we cannot feed our population. You are iterating this, yeah? Yeah. But the ultimate objective of climate smart agricultural approach is to increase productivity per unit area. Okay, if we increase productivity of the, for example, mango tree, okay, from a single mango tree, if we increase the kilograms or the tons we harvest, or if we increase the productivity of a coffee tree, a single tree, or if we increase the productivity of a single tea plant or avocado plant, simply productivity per unit area maximization. Through this, we can feed our population. But this is not only the means. We can also go for commercial agriculture. For example, in Africa, we have a lot of rivers, we have a lot of lakes, we have vast area or acreage of irrigable lands. We can go for that, but it has to be in a very systematic and highly researchable and applicable manner. Otherwise, the penalty will be very, very adverse. So to feed our population, one, we have to improve our crops. The genetic improvement of our crop has to be on board. The way we use water has to be very improved. We have to improve our soil fertility, and we have to work in a very concerted manner. All experts should come together, not agronomists only, not soil scientists only, not social economists only, in participatory manner, through which productivity per unit area can be maximized. That can help us to maximize our crop production and the productivity, and we can be able to feed our population. Unless and otherwise, we have to go for large-scale farming, whereby large acreage through irrigation can be employed. Thank you, Prof. I see Damiso.
Doc, I'm not.
Okay, I saw you are raising your hand.
It's a previous one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Zakar, you are welcome.
Okay, yes. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, Zakari, I am hearing you. Welcome, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor, for your talk, for your nice talk from yesterday. So from your talk, what I can understand is CSA goal is first yield, resilience, and emission. So yes, these are the three responses that we are waiting after applying several kinds of factors. But when we look at the pulling and pushing factors that can really help to reach CSA, I think there are so many factors that really we need to input, which are different from several conditions. It means from one side to another, we have different conditions. So how do you think we can gather all of these conditions for each side to make, like, I don't know, models that really can help to take decision about what kind of practices we can really apply for different sites?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for your question. Yeah, the ultimate destiny of climate smart agriculture is those three pillars: productivity, resilience, and the greenhouse gas emission. Now, recently, to to overcome the problem now you raised, there is a system by which we can handle this called crop modeling. Okay? By making use of this crop modeling, we can develop which functional combinations are productive for a certain particular site. It has to be very site specific, okay? The recommendation that we derive from this modeling cannot work for over locations, but it has to be a context based. So through using crop modeling, we can develop a strategy. We can devise which crop, water, soil management practice best be combined and leads to maximum grain production or food production. So we have to employ crop modeling shortly. Thank you, sir.
Okay, do you have some model to suggest about this?
DSAT can be one. Yeah.
Okay, DSAT. Okay, all right. Thanks so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Another. Yeah, David, I don't see more hands now.
There is
My hand is up.
Called Ndubuisi.
Yes, please.
Welcome, sir, please.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, first of all, I appreciate the essence of CSA. Quite understood. But I'm looking at it as broadening the scope of what has been in existence. You did allude to that farming system research approach has been there, but it looks like CSA is trying to scale it up a little and widen it, bring in other aspects that were not being considered.
Yes.
And in that process, I think it makes it a little more complex for individuals to manage. So I'm considering the cost aspect of it, Wouldn't it be much of a hindrance, because it may mean that only it can be applicable at institutional level? Yes, so I'm looking at the cost aspect. What would be your comment? Then secondly, you talked about crop modeling, and that is very, very important at this point. I think going forward, crop modeling has to become a very vital aspect of our agricultural practice because of the challenging situations we are faced with. So in that sense, I would want to suggest that RUFORUM or other bodies, similar bodies, should consider strongly conducting crop modeling training.
Yes, thank you for your suggestion. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Yeah, I will be starting from the last one. The issue of crop modeling, yeah, it has to be on board. While we are talking about climate smart agriculture, it is impossible without these models, climate models also. I hope our leaders are hearing, Prof. Majaliwa and Dr. Florence are following up. I hope they will be picking this information. David is also following us. With regard to your first question, CSA, you see, as I've indicated during my presentation, farming system is focusing every issues at farmland and field level. Okay.
Yes.
But landscape approach is at holistic level, starting from plot, fields to farms to the whole landscape.
Yes.
Okay. In the whole catchment area, in the whole command area.
Yes.
Maybe in the whole, maybe it can be part of a country, part of a province, or part of certain geographic area. So in that case, the cost issue will be maybe challenging. In that case, we have to undertake a cost benefit analysis. Okay, we have to calculate the marginal rate of return of that technology. Okay. If the marginal rate of that technology is positive or greater than the break-even point, yes, that technology is functional and productive, so we can adopt it. But if that technology is less than break-even, means around 0 and negative, so we have to totally reject that technology. So before testing and picking that technology, we have to calculate the marginal rate of return of those technology combinations or those innovative solutions. Maybe if I have understood your question, I feel like that.
Yes, what I'm saying is that it means that governments probably must come in here, other institutions must come in here, because at the end of the day, the small scale farmer is the interest here to enhance his productivity. So it means that our governments must take interest in that.
So you will be recommending some kind of subsidy for the farmers?
Something of that sort. That's what it means. At whatever.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Noted. Thank you. Nudubuli, please. Okay. I see Dr. Okori. Please welcome. There is a music around someone, please. Will you mute it? Yes, sir, welcome. Okay. David, is there any hand, please?
There's somebody called Simon Peter.
Okay, please. Welcome, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Thank you for the presentation.
Simon, welcome. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, mine is related to what the person who has just spoken said on incentives, especially when it comes to landscape level management. In Uganda, we have a tendency where the local communities will require to be compensated for the land that they are putting for a project or any group work. I would like to know if there are success stories somewhere such that we could learn how such an arrangement has been implemented successfully. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simon.
Yes.
Yeah, well, when we are just talking about landscape management, I disagree with the issues of incentives. The community has to be part and a parcel of that project. They have to contribute their land, okay? They have to contribute their labor and inputs across the topo sequence, across the landscape. Otherwise, if the issue of direct incentives for compensation in the project is incurred, it has a negative impact on the sustainability of that project. If that incentives will be reduced or blocked or removed, at the end of the day, the project lifespan will be endangered. I feel like that. Rather, it should be in a participatory approach. Okay, it should be encompassing the socio-cultural aspect of the community, the physical geography together, including the governance, so that the project can be very productive and sustainable. Otherwise, currently, the issue of incentives is very dangerous. The success story, most of such activities are done by different NGOs in Africa. We know the status of NGOs in Africa and what they are doing. Sorry, I have to refrain from commenting on these NGOs. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise,
all right. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Any other hand?
Well, Jimo Olanite from Nigeria. My hand is up.
Please welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, the presenter. Please, I want to show my appreciation for the very good presentation that you've done. My comment is, hello, are you with me?
Yes, I'm hearing you, yeah.
Okay. So my comment, this climate change has actually disrupted so many things in our agricultural practices.
Yes.
In decades past, and farmers in the local communities can virtually predict when rainfall will start. And they will start their cropping and everything will be okay. But these days, it is difficult to predict rainfall, beginning of rainfall and so on. I have seen instances when there have been total 100% crop loss because of people thought rain have started and they went to farm and put up their crops and so on. Some few weeks later, rain goes off.
Yeah.
So this is very common nowadays. So is there any way our farmers can predict commencement of rainfall that will be stable for them to plant their crops, and then this kind of loss will be mitigated? That is one. Two, given the fact that most of the farmers we are talking about, we are talking about small scale farmers. Most of them are not educated in terms of the kind of thing we are discussing, in terms of research, research output, how to use research output and so on. So how will they benefit from this kind of, because in our various universities, there are so many research outputs that are lying there that are not being used. I think our focus, while we are discussing this, our focus too should be on the role that the university system, or I don't know, maybe Euroforum and others that are concerned, should play in getting the result of this effort that we are doing so much in the universities to the farms, or to the farmers, so that they become part of the farming activities and they become useful in real practical sense. So please, I need your comment on this. I know that this what we are doing, all of us that are listening will benefit a lot, but how do we get it to the farmers? Very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. For the first question on the prediction of the rainfall. Yeah, currently one of the objectives of ICRA through Reform is to target this issue. We are developing predictive models at farm level, at regional level. Reform is now, that's why, coming on board through accelerating the impact of CGR climate research for Africa. This is, it's operating now. The second one is our small scale farmers are lacking education. Yes, this is because our extension system is very poor. For example, in Ethiopia, we have trained around 100,000 extension agents. Now, after 5 years, these agents are not on the spot, not at the farm level. They joined different ministries, different sectors. So one of the practical, key critical problem in Africa is the weak link between research and farmers that can be bridged by the extension agents. I hope one module is there, which will be coming through, it's developed by our Reform. So I feel the extension system has to be very invigorated. Secondly, we researchers, we academicians in the university, and other researchers in different agricultural research organizations, we have to work as an extension and development agent at farm level. I have to reiterate this. We have to move from our campus, from our office to the field. Especially, I appreciate you, Prof. A lot of technologies are shelved in the university. A lot of research outputs are shelved in the university and in the research centers. These technologies should move to the farm to increase the livelihood of our farmers. For this, we have to be the actors. We have to be responsible in taking these initiatives. I personally believe university professors should work, especially agriculturalists, at farm level with the farmers. Otherwise, it's very unlikely that feeding our population will be very tough for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Can I add something to that, Prof?
Yes, yes, please welcome.
All right. I just want to give this information with regard to issue of prediction.
Yes.
I'll just give an example. In Nigeria, the meteorological agency, the National Meteorological Agency, every year comes with seasonal rainfall prediction at the beginning of the year. So, and they disaggregate it according to regions within the country. So every region knows the onset date and cessation date, so that you know the growing period that is available to you. And yes, and it will be the work of the extension agents and probably researchers to transmit this information to our farmers. So that prediction is there, but communicating it to the farmers is where we have a challenge.
That is a gap, yeah. That's why we have to intervene there. Yeah. Thank you, sir. That's a very nice comment. Yeah. Another comment, question?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I have a question. Thank you very much. I don't know how whether this landscape approaches for achieving sustainable crop production has factored in the problem of fragmentation of land, the issue of land tenure system in Africa. I don't know whether that has factored in, because I'm not talking about just the land as it pertains to the smallholder farmer with maybe 1 to 2 hectares of land. We're talking about a whole landscape. Has this approach been able to successfully factor in the landscape problem, or land tenure system rather? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Currently, there is an example in Ethiopia. We have started 2 years ago called cluster farming. Okay. For example, the issue of wheat production in Ethiopia, where maximum yield and productivity is obtained. Different farmers will be contributing their land, and across 20-30 kilometer distance, wheat will be planted or maize will be planted. For maize, we have also. So clustering is very important in this case, whereby the social dynamics of the farmers should be very carefully handled. Yeah, clustering is very important. We cluster smallholder farmers together and plant economically valuable crop like wheat, like beans, like maize, like cassava, so that we can attain a very good yield production. Another?
Okay,
hand?
thank you, Prof.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Prof. It's a cool end from Nigeria.
Yeah.
I want to know whether there's a link or relationship between climate smart agriculture and regenerative agriculture.
Yeah. Regenerative agriculture is the outcome of climate smart agriculture, precisely speaking.
Okay.
Yeah. Or restoration ecology.
Okay, can you please expatiate on that?
Yeah. Restoration ecology or regenerative agriculture is an agricultural practice whereby degraded soils or lands be reclaimed through application of climate smart technologies, and thus yield be maximized. Okay. Originally, the bioactivity or productivity of that land is lost. So we apply different technologies and regenerate. Okay, the nutrient holding capacity, water holding capacity, microbial population holding capacity of that land or soil. Thus, we can reuse or restore that land for production. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
And
Prof.
Yeah,
Prof.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I would also want you to help on explaining the difference between climate smart agriculture and sustainable intensification.
Yeah, CSA and sustainability. One of the domains of climate smart agriculture is the issue of sustainability. Our yield has, the three pillars has to be attained on sustainable fashion: the yield, the resilience, and the greenhouse gas emission. Otherwise, functional climate smart agriculture is not operationalized. Okay, in landscape approach, the last domain is the issue of sustainability. Okay, that's the point. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Prof. Thank you for the presentation. I just have a small question. Yes, the breeders just focus on the improving crops,
yes.
and there is a smart agriculture. So I'm just wondering, what is the mechanism, or what is the approach that can combine both, like helps breeders focus on the other side, or for like the lands and everything like related to smart agriculture, so that they can make the best, not only by focusing on improving crops, on also how to increase the yield by focusing on the other aspects, which like soil. So what is the mechanism? Is there a suggested mechanism people can follow and breeders also can incorporate in the research?
Yeah.
My name is Ahmed Bashir. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Yeah, as you know, the currently existing breeding strategy we are following in Africa and elsewhere in the world, it is focusing on yield maximization. Okay, we focus on yield. The quality aspect is even compromised. Breeding for quality traits is now on board because of this. If we go for drought tolerance, yield will be penalized. If we go for quality traits, yield will be penalized. The pretty aspect of climate smart agriculture is to balance this yield loss and quality, okay, on sustainable basis. So I suggest for breeders, okay, they have to start from the crop modeling and set an experiment. For example, if it's for drought tolerance, and mine genes which are tolerant or resistant to drought, and incorporate in elite germplasms for further production at farm level. So if breeding is on board, always we have to remember that there will be a compromisation. That's my suggestion, Dr. Ahmed.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you, sir. I have 5 minutes only, David. Within 5 minutes, would you please wrap up this section and come again tomorrow at the same time? Thank you.
I think I agree, Prof. If in the next 5 minutes anyone has any comments, final comments.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I also invite members to register. I've shared the links on chat.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and then Prof. Zelalem, I think on the presentations and the other material to be shared, I think we shall wait to hear from you. Maybe you make any adjustments and then share with us.
Yeah, I will be sharing. I will be providing the whole document for you at the end of our section on Friday, like at 5.
All right, Prof.
Thank you, sir. Otherwise, thank you all for your participation. I'm glad yesterday 120 people were following our presentation. Today we were 100. Really,
Yes.
thank
yeah.
you, Forum. Really, this is a very great platform. I'm exercising really, and thank you. Really, I'm very happy. Prof. Majaliwa and Dr. Florence, David, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Friends all over Africa, thank you for following my presentation. Have a very good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Prof.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Professor.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.